Hi everybody, Dale Powers again from WGI. And today I want to talk to you about some of the changes that took place this year regarding our safety rule. And it's Rule 4.5.1 and 4.5.2. And there are two significant changes. So the first thing you need to remember is if you're going to build props, you really need to consult with what those rules are. And the basic premise of the rule is anything that's over 6 feet tall, there are certain safety precautions that need to be in place. 4.5.1 now states that you have to have a safety rail 42 inches high, covering 50% of the surface the person is standing on. So if you have a member that's standing on a prop that is over 6 feet tall, you are required to have a safety rail on 50% of that surface. And the reason 50% was put in place is because that should cover sufficient enough space so that if the member slips, loses their balance, etc., there's something they can grab onto. This not only happens when the member's doing things on top of a prop, but in some cases where the prop is moving. And we'll talk about moving props in a minute. But for 4.5.1, you now need to know that the railing has to be 42 inches high and 50% of the surface they're standing on. If it's a square platform, then 2 of the 4 sides. If it's a rectangle, then take the circumference all the way around of the 4 sides, and 50% of it has to have a railing 42 inches high. You can have railing pieces that are higher and lower, but at least 50% of the surface has to be 42 inches high. The other change that's taken place with that same rule is regarding the safety harness. So within that rule, you can either have a railing covering 50% of the surface, or if you wanted to have a platform 7 feet tall and a member on it, you could just have them be in a safety harness. The new part of the rule concerning harnesses is the length of that harness tether, or the cord part of the harness, has to be no more than 3 feet from the surface. Here's an example. You're on a prop that's 7 feet tall and you choose to use a harness instead. So your member is in a safety harness and they click on to a safety rail or latch. If they were to fall off that prop, the cord that's holding them to that harness has to stop them 3 feet from the surface. So in other words, that cord on the harness could only be 4 feet long because they're 7 feet off the ground. And that was put in place to make sure that there was sufficient enough space so if the harness caught the person and flipped them, they still wouldn't go to the ground. So the two new aspects of that are the length of the tether or cord on the harness and also the railing going all the way around. That covers 4.5.1. So just to clarify, if you have a prop that is 5 feet 6 inches off the ground, neither of these two safety precautions are necessary. I do want to caution you about one thing though. As you get closer to that 6 foot mark, it involves the lowest point of contact, and that's the part of the rule that hasn't changed. So let me give you an example. If you have a prop that's 5 foot 6 inches tall, neither of these two safety precautions are required. It's when you get over 6 feet that they have to be there. But the caution I want to give you is that if you have a prop that's say 5 feet 10 inches tall, then in that case the performer's feet have to stay on that surface. They can't do any type of choreography that would lift their feet above 6 feet, because if that was the case, then they either would need to have a safety rail or a harness. Many groups now just put the safety rail around and put it in place so they don't have to worry about certain aspects of choreography. Now, the other part of it is if the prop is moving, and that's 4.5.2. If your prop is above 6 feet tall, so think of it in terms of if you have to have a railing or a harness, it's above 6 feet tall, and you move that prop with a performer on it, they must either be in contact with the rail during the movement of the prop, or they have to have a harness engaged the entire time in movement, okay? And basically that's just to make sure that if it hits a roll in the floor or something happens and a performer below jerks the prop that's moving, that they have adequate precautions in place so that they won't fall and go off. That's another significant change. They must be actively engaged with the rail or have a harness in place. Those are the major changes regarding prop safety. Again, read the rules thoroughly, and if you have any questions, send me an email at dale@wgi.org. Pictures, examples, show me what you're going to do, and I'll have communications with you, and I can sign off on it and say yes, or I can ask for more information. And then once I give you that approval, you just keep that with you, and shows that you go to, you can say this was signed off by WGI, or I might ask for more information. I do want to caution you that even though you get an approval, if you make changes to what you're doing on the prop, the height of the prop, even the choreography that's on it, if it's deemed unsafe, we may then tell you that you can't do that, or other precautions need to be put in place. Again, good luck with your current season. I hope this clarification's helped you.